right, it is 2 o'clock. It is Thursday. It is the end of 2022. It is not the end of COVID. Welcome to Volunteer for Israel Educates, episode number, believe it or not, 170. And we have one person among us to very quickly at the beginning to give an applause to for lasting through 170 episodes, named Julia.
Hey, Julia.
A few announcements. We have announced the upcoming archaeology program in March. We rolled it out. Many of you probably got an email last night announcing it. We can go up to about 18 participants. We have already a couple signed up. If you're interested, my suggestion is immediately write a check and send $500, which is fully refundable, to the address shown, who was the VFI financial person. And that'll hold your spot until we get to the point of invoicing, which will be around January 8th or so. And then if you, for some reason, or if you don't qualify, or if there's an issue, you get all your money back. So I just let everybody know that the program for March will fill up quickly. The program we ran in November was a sellout. We had 19 people in that program. So wanted to pass that message along. Alana has a run-in with her dentist right now. I just want to have a moment of silence just to feel her pain. And she says she will be able to join us probably in the schmooze. She'll be home by then, she hopes. If you've missed a prior episode of the 169 episodes that preceded this one, you can go to our index, which is located at tinyurl.com/VFIeducates2. That's the number 2. And on that webpage, you'll find a clickable index on demand to all prior episodes. Hundreds of people have used it. I just wanted to announce it in case anybody new needs to know that. Today marks the end of season 5 of VFI Educates. Season 6 will begin next year on Thursday. And I want to talk a moment about what our current plans are. Julia has been hyperactive since the summer of 2020, a long time ago, supplying us and delivering to us all kinds of content directly live from Israel. And Julia, who basically is in the travel business, her card has gotten full, which is something we've been looking forward to for the last couple of years. So I'm pleased to say that she is employed and working and still available to anybody going to Israel as a friend and all. But because of that, her time availability is a little bit restricted. So what we're going to do for season 6, starting next Thursday, is we're going to alternate schmooze weeks with content weeks. And the content weeks are going to be filled by people, not necessarily just from Israel, but from anywhere in the world, basically, to talk about any subject, any expert matters kind of discussion on whatever topic for about half an hour. And we'll make it an intellectual pursuit every other week. Now, we do have a couple of folks that are lined up for the beginning weeks in January. But beyond that, it'll be incumbent upon us, yes, all 72 or 74 people that have logged in here, to suggest somebody who might be a subject matter expert who might want to spend an hour on a Thursday afternoon at 2 o'clock talking to us. And us is all over the world. We have somebody from Japan, Konnichiwa, Riba, and we have a couple people from Israel, and who knows where else that pop in and pop out. So we are an international community. We've all become friends, and we've all respect each other's opinions, or opinion not to have an opinion. But we're looking for subject matter experts to carry us through to June of next year. So we need about 2 a month, maybe 3 a month, and that would suffice. So we're open to your suggestions. If you have a friend, a relative who knows something significant, even if it's theoretical nuclear physics, something we can talk about that everybody's interested in, to speak up, and we'll put them on the books. So that's season 6. No further messages at this point. At this point, I would like to reintroduce, who needs no introduction, Julia, who will carry us forth today. And following Julia's presentation, of course, we'll have Q&A. And then following that, we'll go into our schmooze session, which you're all welcome to stick around for. All topics are on the table. Julia, Happy New Year.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, everybody. Well, I will start in a minute, but I have to tell you that it's so strange and weird, and I don't even know what exactly I'm feeling right now after being attached to you guys and to the project and to all this activity I was carrying on for 2.5 years. And I just told Noah, my son, who some of you know him, those who've been here from the beginning, that he was following me with a gimbal and cell phone, and he was totally part of the project. And he was a high student back then, and now he is second year in the military. And he grew up and changed quite a bit. And I am very much busy, and I'm very happy to say that. But at the same time, I mean, that was a big chunk of my life, and it actually kept me, I don't know, mentally more or less okay during COVID. So thank you so much, Steve, for providing this opportunity for me, and thank you all guys for coming and joining and participating, because, you know, the tour cannot exist without the tourists. So you were my virtual tourists, my virtual audience for so long. And then I already met in reality quite a few of you, and it was always amazing. You know, just a week ago, maybe, I was guiding 3 wonderful ladies from VFI, and when we met up north in a little community called Amirim, so the lady who contacted me, she was, "Oh, that's you. Well, I know that's you. I was expecting you to come, but I was almost expecting Noam, your son, to follow you with his gimbal." And, you know, that's, yeah. Again, all I can say is thank you all, and I really hope that I will see as many of you as possible in reality. And I will be coming to visit on Shmuz. So I was thinking for quite a while what should be the last topic for the last presentation, like last VFI Educate. And I ended up with the idea that we were touring Israel for so long. I'm not saying that there's nothing else to say here or show, but you know, the world is great, and my passion for traveling is well, it's quite big. And now when the world reopened after COVID, so I take advantage of it. And so I decided that the last presentation of the season should be not in Israel. And that's how I ended up with a cruise. I mean, a virtual cruise of the Mediterranean, visiting 3 huge and wonderful and ancient cities, which used to have a major Jewish communities. One of them still had, actually 2 of them still have some Jewish constant presence, some Jewish community there, and one does not have any Jews left. So I will introduce the places, but on top of talking and, you know, visiting synagogues, I would just like to share this experience with you, just as I did with some previous travelings of mine. And I'm going to Paris in 10 days from now, so maybe I will, to celebrate a new year in the most beautiful and romantic city of all. So I will start sharing my screen, and let's explore Mediterranean. Okay. Guys, can you see my screen? Can you see it should say 3 great Mediterranean Jewish diasporas? All right. Great. So we will be virtually visiting Alexandria, Istanbul, and Thessaloniki. So that's Egypt and Turkey and Greece and Julia Newman. And this is the last and final time when I say paypal.me, Noam Newman, pay as you wish. And here we start. So let's start with Alexandria. I mean, this is what Alexandria looks like when you approach from the port As I said, this is a virtual cruise. So this is something you don't usually see when you visit Alexandria those days because you do it by plane. But when you approach the port of Alexandria, you can see all these little boats. And well, to begin with, it doesn't look like much, yes, I will admit, but we need some music here, and I suggest we listen to just a few seconds of the one and the only, the greatest singer ever, Kulthum. And she will be singing one of the most famous Egyptian songs, which is called Enta Omri, which means you, my beloved one. So you could have heard, she said a few times, Inta Omri, you're my beloved one. And Omri is also a quite common Hebrew name. Actually, I almost named Noam Omri, but it never happened. So this is what Alexandria would look like if we would have visited some 2,300 years ago. This is an imaginational view, of course, and we're looking at one of the 7 miracles, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. And this is, of course, Paros, the lighthouse of the port of Alexandria. The story tells that it was built by an architect who happened to lose his Omri, his beloved one, his fiancée. She was on her way to visit him in Alexandria all the way from Athens. And then just the night before they arrived, the ship was overturned by a storm and she drowned. So he was devastated and she could no longer work until somebody suggested that he creates a memorial for her. And that would be the lighthouse. So that will be a combination of a memorial and, you know, to save other Omri's lives. So this is the one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. It does not exist any longer, but instead of that, and exactly the same location where presumably it used to be, we have a different structure, which is much, much younger than this, but very big, very impressive. I hope you can see my screen. And this is the fortress which was built in the 15th century by the ruler of Egypt, ruler of Cairo. And at the same time, he was also the ruler of the land of Israel, including Jerusalem. And his name, he was a Mamluk Muslim ruler, and his name was Ashraf Kite Bey. So this is the fortress, this is the citadel which was built by him. And later it was transformed into a museum. So you can see that it's very well maintained, very impressive. And just in case, I don't think so, but just in case, if the name Ashraf Kite Bey, that ruler who built the fortress, sounds familiar, that's because we have a very impressive building in Jerusalem right next to the Temple Mount, where Larry is currently sitting. One of the gates, which is usually used to leave the Temple Mount, is called Ashrafia, because this impressive, beautiful structure, which was a religious school in the 15th century, was built by the very same guy whose name was Ashraf, and so it is named Ashrafia. Nowadays, it is a military base, which is used by border police Now, our next stop will be right here. I hope you already landed with me. Are you standing on a big modern open square next to a glass pyramid? Are you there, guys? Yep. Okay. So by the way, the glass pyramid resembles just a little bit the Louvre in Paris. Or maybe that's me because I'm already excited about going there. But this is the modern Library of Alexandria. The modern Library of Alexandria is built right next to the location of the mythological ancient Library of Alexandria, which was founded by the descendants of Alexander Macedonian. And the idea of that library was very ambitious. The idea was to make the biggest library in the world, the biggest library ever existing, and to have, listen carefully, to have a copy of every single book ever written. I'm not saying printed because, print was not yet invented, but they wanted literally to have a copy of every single book, every single manuscript, which is, of course, impossible. We don't really know how many books were there, but maybe, probably, we are looking at 400,000 manuscripts. And we are talking about the 4th century BCE. Can you imagine that? One of the most important, maybe the most important manuscript, which was not just stored there, but written right there, is the Septuaginta. The Septuaginta is the translation of the 70, or according to other sources, 72 elders, 72 Jewish rabbis who sat down, not together, separate. Each one was sitting in a separate room, and they were writing down, translating the Torah. Not the Torah, the Tanakh, the Jewish Bible. And story tells that they were all translating exactly the same words, exactly the same way. Well, probably this is just fairy tale, but this is the very first translation of the Hebrew Bible into any foreign language, and that was, of course, ancient Greek. So ever since, we have numerous translations, but the first one, the very first, was in Alexandria, in that very library in the 2nd century BCE. And now our next stop would be right here. You see, we are walking down the street. This is what modern Alexandria looks like. I mean, it's not very pretty, but in the same time, it's not that bad. And in the same time, when you look at this building, at least those of you who've been to Tel Aviv or Haifa or, I don't know, pretty much any other city in modern Israel, that looks pretty much Israeli, with the same air conditions outside as it used to be around today. We still have some old neighborhoods with these old air conditions. The modern air conditions are hidden inside. You don't see them that way. But this is very much resembles Tel Aviv, like old. So this is Alexandria. We are walking down the street. We can do some shopping. You can see some really pretty colonial style buildings of the British period there. We can sit down and have a coffee. Actually, I like this street. And that street will take us all the way to the most famous, the most beautiful synagogue, which is called Eliyahu Hanavi, which means Prophet Elijah. We have a model of the synagogue in the Diaspora Museum in Tel Aviv. We have so many descriptions. Quite a few people were either married here and now they live here, being old grandparents. I know quite a few people who know that their grandparents were married in that synagogue in Alexandria. Unfortunately, we have no more Jewish community in Alexandria at all. Most Jews left Alexandria when the State of Israel was declared in 1948. Others remained for a couple of more years till the Sinai operation, or the Kadesh operation, back in 1956. And then a few who still stayed behind, they moved after 1967. And that was it. So we have no Jewish community in Alexandria whatsoever. We have a few Jews, old, who still live in Cairo, but that's it. Basically, there is no Jewish presence in Egypt any longer after over 2,000 years of constant Jewish presence, not to mention Passover. This is the Holy Ark of the synagogue, and the synagogue was restored, renovated, and reopened to the public back in 2020. One of the very few good achievements during COVID, but it is not functioning. I mean, you can see all these crowds and journalists and the Jewish, the Israeli ambassador was invited, and it was very happy and nice. And they inaugurated the church, the synagogue, but it's not functioning. It doesn't have. They don't have people to pray in, which is quite sad. So I know that if you visit Alexandria, so you can arrange a visit to the synagogues. It looks beautiful, and it is waiting for you. So if you ever plan to visit Egypt, and so you visit Alexandria, and please pay a visit to the synagogue as well. I mean, it deserves it. One of the people, this is Adi Israel. I hope you already see him. He's a friend and a colleague, and they live in a nearby community of Zichron Yaakov, which has a story of its own. Anyway, he was born in Egypt, and his family moved to France after 1956, and then they made it here. And he has some unique family story, which is way too long and complicated to tell it now, but it combines all three countries we will be virtually visiting now, Greece and Egypt and Turkey. But the reason why I brought his photo here is because he has a unique family connection. I mean, he is a relative of this guy on the right. And this is Shirizli. Now, Shirizli, who also moved to Jerusalem and lived in Nachlaot in the late 19th century. He was the publisher of the guy on the left, which might be familiar. I mean, maybe some of you will recognize his face. If not, so you probably know the name. And the name is Eliezer ben Yehuda. Eliezer ben Yehuda is considered to be the one who made Hebrew a spoken language. Well, once again, after some 2,000 years of it being written and prayed, but not spoken. So Adi Israel, who is a colleague of mine, he is a descendant of Shirizli, who published the first ever dictionary of modern Hebrew, which was assembled by Eliezer ben Yehuda. So that's like, my sort of connection to Egypt. This has nothing to do with Judaism, as far as I know, but it's just a beautiful museum of jewelry. And people love jewelry, and I know that we have quite a few ladies on this tour, so I think we should visit the Museum of Jewelry and see some really wonderful, both ancient and modern designs of jewelry, and also beautiful decorations of the ceiling, which are very much non-Muslim, because again, that was made before before Egypt was independent. Our next stop will be, well, I guess you're hungry after all this touring, so our next stop will be in a very nice restaurant in the middle of Alexandria, which is called Gad. For some reason, Gad was one of the 12 tribes. I couldn't find any reason why they named this restaurant Gad, but it's a really great place to sit down and have a coffee. And since we're in Alexandria, we have to have a falafel. I mean, I'm sure you all, if you've ever been to Israel, you've had a falafel, but falafel actually comes from Egypt, and this is the best place by far to have falafel. So here we are with a falafel in Gad restaurant. Having said that, and having had lunch, We are heading back to the port, to the modern port of Alexandria with all these cranes and the ship and the horn. And here we are on our way to our next destination. Farewell to Alexandria, and let's sail. Well, I know at least one person here who loves cruises. I never cruised myself, I have to admit. I took one ship only just once from Bari in Italy to Athens. I'm not sure I liked it, but maybe I'll try again at some point. And here we are. We are right now arrived in Istanbul. And again, we have to start with some music. Now, this band, the guys actually live here in my community called Moshav Maor. And they're not really Turkish, but for some reason they love Turkish music. And the singer's name is Julie, and she learned Turkish. And here they are with a very typical and popular Turkish song. Enjoy. Well, now you got a little bit of idea what the Turkish music sounds like, and so now we can continue. Some facts about Istanbul. Just to mention one fact, the population is about 15 million people living there, and this is the only city in the world which is, you know, on both continents. Well, that's a well-known fact, and we are looking right here in front of us. This is the Bosphorus, but that's still amazing. I mean, 2 continents in one city. So let's get into Istanbul. Okay, we're flying over, we're getting ready, and I hope you did land at the little peninsula overlooking the Bosphorus. We are here in Europe. We can take a look at Asia on the other side. We make a circle. This is a beautiful open square. This is where you can get some nuts and sweets and feed some pigeons. And look at the ship we just arrived with. And okay, let's explore Istanbul. One of the first landmarks we're gonna see, maybe the most famous landmark of Istanbul, and the so-called Galata Tower, which has a long and complicated story, which I will not be describing now, but just one fact. I guess you're familiar with this ancient Greek myth about Icarus and Daedalus, father and son, who were imprisoned. And then the father, Daedalus, he created wings. He created wings so he could fly away from his prison, which was a tower. And they started flying, both of them. And then Icarus, the son, you know, he was young and fearless. And he started flying up there to the sky. And then the glue, which hold the wings together and hold the feathers to the wings, melted and Icarus fell down into the sea. Are you familiar with that story? Yeah, okay, Steve, I can see that you are, probably others as well. So somehow we do know that story, but I just found out that there is another story which is suspiciously similar, which is told about this tower, the Galata Tower in Turkey. So right here you can see a post stamp which describes the Galata Tower. I hope you can see it, the Galata Tower, which is right here in front of us. And the guy whose name is, sorry, I don't even know how to pronounce it, you know, a long Turkish name. But this guy tried to fly over from Galata Tower to the other side of the Bosphorus, and he actually made it, unlike Icarus. So same story, different tower and different names. And today, Galata Tower is a museum, so you can climb all the way upstairs to look at the beautiful view of Istanbul, surrounding you from all sides, again, Europe and Asia, and some 15 million people, and yourself. Pretty. Next up will be, well, the second famous, or maybe the most famous, I'm not sure, landmark of Istanbul, which is called Hagia Sophia. Hagia Sophia is a mosque, which used to be a church, which is undisputable. I mean, the word Hagia means holy in Greek, and Sophia, she used to be the goddess of wisdom, and then she became a Christian saint. Anyway, Hagia Sophia, Holy Sofia, which was a church and then a museum. And recently, the structure was declared a mosque again. From Hagia Sophia, we want to take a look at the indoors. Look how beautiful it is. And yes, well, now it does look like a mosque with all these inscriptions and arabesques and gold colors, and it's just amazing. I mean, if you have a chance to visit Istanbul, don't miss Hagia Sophia. Can you see how pretty it is, guys? I don't know how about the quality of the presentation. I hope you are impressed. Okay, well, we've traveled and sailed, and you know, no visit to Turkey can be fulfilled without a hammam, hammam being the Turkish bath, of course. And let's get ourselves pampered just a little bit. So, you know, let's imagine. Okay, where's my, I don't know, wait a minute. I was about to take you to a hammam and something was, okay, wait, all right. Okay, sorry guys, we're back to the hammam. Hammam is the hot bath, the Turkish bath. Hammam literally means hot. Okay, so here we are getting there. Imagination it is, and here we are.
In this video, we will look at the Turkish baths or hammams of Turkey. Now, as I promised, the Turkish bath.
Guys, do you see anything? Something is wrong with my video. Do you see the hammam or you see just running colors? You don't see it. Okay, let's...
You want an authentic experience for your Turkish.
Okay, well, I don't know. Something went wrong with the hammam, so let's imagine that we've been there. Okay, sorry, it's a beautiful video. You have to Google hammam later. Okay, so we are down the street. Another typical street, you can see shops and cars and people. And these guys are still wearing masks, which I don't think should be the case. We walk around down the street straight forward. and we make it to our Jewish destination. And here we are. I mean, if I wouldn't tell you that this is something to look at, if I would not be placing it like this, I don't know if you pay attention to these little stars of David. Do you see the stars of David on the black doors? The black doors, which is so much cloth. I mean, I'm sure I would have missed it. But since somebody bothered to show it to me, so yeah, there's something very Jewish, very well protected, and very much locked. So let's get the keys and let's get in. Look how big and beautiful and impressive it is. This is the Neve Shalom synagogue, one of the beautiful and still functioning synagogues in Istanbul, which was targeted 3 times. There were 3 terror attacks against the synagogue. It was very heavily damaged and then restored again. This is another look at the synagogue. See how pretty it is, how big it is. And again, we still a small Jewish community in Istanbul, but way too small to fill that synagogue. So again, if you ever make it to Istanbul, so please come and visit and just pay attention. One of the most ancient Jewish communities outside of Israel is the one in Istanbul. Ever since Istanbul was Constantinople. Next stop is very close. This is the Jewish Museum in
Julia.
Yeah.
Julia, I'm interrupting you, but move back to the slide one before, please.
Okay. This one?
Yeah, that's good enough. I want to let you know that when my wife and I were in Turkey, we went to the synagogue. Look under each of the seats and you'll see a little yellow something.
Yes, yes.
Those are hard hats for when they were, in case they are bombed.
Wow. Thank you for the comment. I did not know that.
Under each seat, there's a yellow heart.
I see that now. I mean, I never paid attention and wow. Thank you.
Okay, go on. I'm sorry.
What a precious comment. Thanks. I mean, there are photos of what the synagogue looked like after the terror attack, but the photos were so disturbing, so I decided just not to put it. But yes, okay, thanks. So not far from there's the Jewish Museum in the Zulfar Synagogue, which used to be a synagogue. I mean, when you look at it, you see that it's meant to be a synagogue. You can see down there, this is the Holy Ark, and this is the upper layer for the Ezrat Nashim, but they just don't have enough, they don't have enough population, they don't have enough visitors, they don't have enough funds to maintain this other synagogue, so they just turned it into a Jewish museum, and Neve Shalom is the functioning synagogue whenever it is. This is again, that one has nothing to do with Judaism, but these are the colorful rainbow stairs. So all you do is walking up and down stairs and down the road. And here another look of modern Istanbul. And here we proceed to another destination, which is the beautiful Topkapi Palace, which is sort of the outdoors seasonal palace for the Turkish sultans, which is nowadays one of the main tourist destinations, including the gardens and, just Topkapi Palace. You can spend hours, but we don't have that much time. And back to jewelry. I mean, hey ladies, this is one of the biggest, or maybe the biggest diamond in the world, the Spoonmaker's diamond of 86 carats on display in Istanbul. I mean, that's something we don't even dream of buying. I mean, it's just for And here, the blue mosque. Well, this is a mosque, that was a mosque. We have all the different features which are necessary for having a mosque. And if you're not really impressed by what it looks like, okay, and it doesn't really look blue, so as soon as we get into this is the interior. This is blue, full of arabesques and incredibly beautiful. This is my favorite spot. This is the Basilica Cistern. We are walking to it and it looks like, I don't know, it looks like a frozen or maybe drowned world. This is a huge water system which was built to maintain the nearby basilica in the Byzantine period. And there's something really magical and mystical in it. Not that many people visit, so if you do make it to Istanbul, I really recommend you visit the Basilica Cistern. I remember myself as a child looking at it for the first time, and it was something out of this world, truly. And then I visited it again with my kids maybe 10 years ago, and I didn't know what to expect. And the minute I walked in, it was the same amazing, incredible, impossible feeling of something out of this world. So my personal recommendation. And another synagogue, the Ahrida synagogue. This is another not functioning synagogue today. Look at the beautiful bima, which resembles a boat. Okay, I hope you can see the shape of the boat. And that boat is to symbolize the refugees of the Spanish exile who made it to Turkey after being invited by the Turkish Sultan to move into Turkey and support their economy. So they used, they took a boat from Spain to Istanbul, and that bima is a memorial. The Jewish school, a very small Jewish community, but it has a very nice school. They have videos, they have promotions, but let's leave it alone. We don't have that much time, but just for you to know that there is a Jewish school. Another walk around a nice modern neighborhood full of young people and cafes and very happy atmosphere. You can very much stay in this Antusa Palace Hotel. That used to be a Jewish neighborhood. I mean, we can't really speak of a Jewish neighborhood nowadays, but that's where it was. Look at the beautiful building. I mean, the beautiful building used to belong to a very large, wealthy Jewish family. We keep going. And before we leave Turkey, I mean, there's no way we'll leave Turkey without having galata lokum, this most famous Turkish delight. You have a recipe here. I never made it myself. I don't really like it, but I mean, this is part of the experience. If you have to have a falafel in Egypt, so you have to have a galata lokum in Istanbul. So here it is. We are on our way to our last stop, last city, Jewish community, last country, and this is Thessaloniki. And again, we have to start with some music.
Καμάρι της καρδιάς μου, Θεσσαλονίκη όμορφη γλυκιά. Κι αν ζω στη ξαλογιάστρα την Αθήνα, για σένα τραγουδώ κάθε βραδιά. Όμορφη Θεσσαλονίκη, σου βράδια νοσταλγώ. έζησα τις πιο γλυκές στιγμές.
So, and again, it goes on and on. When I was working on this presentation, I called a friend of mine who is a tour guide as well, and she was born in Saloniki. So I told her, hey, I need a classical song for Saloniki, something like Jerusalem of Gold for Jerusalem. And that was very easy. She immediately told me, oh, this is the one. This is the song for Saloniki. So now you've heard it as well. So if this is Saloniki, so let's take a closer look. We're about to land, and we're landing on the promenade of Thessaloniki near the White Tower, which we saw before in that video. Here it is. Well, it's called the White Tower. It doesn't really look so white, but obviously it was a strategic protection building, which used to be white. Nowadays, it just stands like a landmark next to a beautiful promenade. And this is where you can walk by the sea and sing a song and think of Tel Aviv, by the way, you know, just across the sea. And the port is right here, modern Saloniki, which looks a little bit like Tel Aviv as well. And we walk down the promenade. Next stop, we are still walking down the promenade, but we take a little detour and we can visit a historical museum, which is not very big, but very impressive, because if you think of Saloniki, if you think of, generally speaking, Greece, this is the cradle of the Western civilization. This is the cradle of the Western literature, the Western mythology. This is the cradle of, well, I would say culture as we know it, with the beautiful mosaic floors down here, which resembles some most beautiful mosaics found in Israel. And I mean, it all goes back to Greece, as far as the Western society and Western culture is concerned. So the best archaeological museum in Greece is definitely in Athens, but this one, which is much smaller, is yet very impressive. So highly recommended. And from this museum, let's get back to the promenade and take a look at this little funny, cute landmark. You see, the umbrellas, that's what they're called. It's just a decoration. And it is also sort of a prayer for rain, because just like Israel, Greece doesn't have enough rainfall. So, you know, when you don't want the rain to fall, so you take an umbrella, right? That prevents. So this case is exactly the opposite. We put so many umbrellas because we want some rain. And next stop should be in here. Well, we've been to a few synagogues. This is not a synagogue, not at all. This is a Greek Orthodox church located not far from the promenade. And the reason we're visiting this church, one, is simply because it's pretty. Well, I hope you will agree that it's pretty, well maintained, and of course, very well visited and very active, because this is a Greek Orthodox church and we are in Greece. So one reason is just because, you know, it's beautiful and we should visit a Greek monument. But the other reason is also because it's Happy New Year and Christmas is just over. So, you know, we do have some Christian connection to this time of the year. Let's get out of the church. Okay, that was enough. And here, the hero, Alexander Macedonian, Alexander the Great. So he did not come from Thessaloniki. He is, of course, Macedonian, but that's not far away, because Macedonia is just north of Greece and Thessaloniki is northern Greece. And this is the beautiful monument of the guy who created the second largest empire ever and made it into here as well, and made it to Egypt and all the way to India. And this is why the Greek culture, which became the source of the foundation of the Roman culture, is so much influential here. I mean, if you think of any ruins, massive, impressive ruins you ever saw around the Mediterranean, it all has to do with Rome and Roman presence, which are the descendants of the Greek presence, which is the descendants of Alexander Macedonian. And even Hanukkah, which we just now celebrated, has to do with the descendants of Alexander Macedonian with the Seleucian kingdom. But that's a different story. Anyway, when you walk around Thessaloniki, no way you miss this sculpture. Thessaloniki is also one of the places which is where Ladino was primarily spoken. Ladino is an old Jewish Sephardic language, which is a version of Old Spanish. I would say Ladino is an equivalent of Yiddish, but Yiddish is for the Ashkenazi, while Ladino is for the Sephardic. And since Hanukkah is just over, a little Hanukkah song in Ladino. I don't know if you've ever heard Ladino, so here it comes. Wait, something got very wrong. Guys, I don't know, but somehow I lost the presentation. Guys, I have no idea what happened, but wait a sec. It was just too much for, okay. Okay, now I'm back to the presentation, and now I have to get back to the share screen. Okay. Guys, can you see my screen again?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Sorry, I don't know, somehow I couldn't get rid of the Ladino. Okay. So you've heard the Ladino, and now we can proceed. Well, this is the sad part to the story of Thessaloniki, because in 1917 there was a great fire which had nothing special to do with the Jews, but it ruined Thessaloniki. When you walk around Saloniki, you actually ask yourself, I mean, I just described how important that was and what a beautiful museum they have, but where is ancient Saloniki? And the answer is, well, it was gone in a fire which damaged major parts of Thessaloniki and the Jewish part, the Jewish neighborhood as well. So we don't really see much of ancient Saloniki, and not much is left from the old Jewish buildings and neighborhoods. This is what the ruined Jewish neighborhood looked like. Again, nobody's fault. It just happened. It's not that just the Jews, but that was the beginning of the end of the ancient Jewish community of Saloniki, which existed for over 22 centuries in a row. So World War I, the Great Fire, and almost no Jews were left there. And then, of course, we have World War II, we have the Holocaust, we have Archbishop Damaskinos, who was later granted the honor of being declared the righteous among nations. So he, being an archbishop, he provided false documents for hundreds and hundreds of Jews in order to save them from the Nazis. He saved many of them, including the grandparents of that friend of mine I've mentioned before, and others were killed by the Nazis. And in the end of the Second World War, there were almost no Jews left in Thessaloniki. 1942, you see the Jews taken for the forced labor and evacuated and sent to the death camps. And this is part of the memorial for the victims of the Holocaust in Thessaloniki. And these are the tracks to death, of course. Not far from there, you see the memorial. This is the old Jewish cemetery with a broken and misplaced menorah, a symbolic menorah, of course, and the names of the victims of the Holocaust and the story of the Jewish community of Thessaloniki. Very, very few Jews are still left there. There are a few in that neighborhood, among others. Just another little tour. You see that there are no old buildings. Everything looks very much new, pretty, modern, well-maintained, but nothing is left of the ancient atmosphere. The monastery synagogue, a beautiful, well-maintained, but almost not visited synagogue, the monastery synagogue. And nearby there is the Yad LeZikaron synagogue, which is the memorial synagogue for the Jewish community, which is no longer there. And this is Yahaloma. This is the friend of mine who provided me the song and shared her family story. And this is the family. This is Yahaloma's family. The grandmother sitting down here, she is still living in Thessaloniki, one of the few Jews left there. Yahaloma is the second from the right. And what you see here is a celebration, a bar mitzvah celebration of one of the distant relatives of Yahaloma in the Yad LeZikaron synagogue. So, the Jews are still there and we're still celebrating. The most Greek dish of all is definitely the moussaka, minced meat and cream and eggplant, and it's very much non-kosher. It's delicious. I mean, I'm vegetarian, but I still remember from before vegetarianism. It's just amazing. I mean, if you don't keep kosher, if you do keep kosher, so there are kosher substitutes to the moussaka as well. So that's something you must have while traveling in Thessaloniki. And we're almost done with the tour. So let's sit down in the taverna, have some wine, and listen to one of the most Israeli singers who is of Greek descendants. His father, a Holocaust survivor. He was born here in Haifa, and his name is Yuda Poliker. know, this guy, Yoda Polikel, he still performs, he's still singing. He's still one of the most popular artists in Israel. He is 70 years old, and that song is about 50 years old, and still it's one of the most popular songs, very Greek one. I mean, this is an amazing success for a performer. So guys, thank you for joining me once again. We are back in Israel because this is where we come from, and this is where we should go and visit or leave for me. So B'Shana Haba'a, next year, this coming Sunday, Yerushalayim, at the Kotel or elsewhere. The Dome of the Rock is here. And thank you so much again. That's the end. And these are just a few photos from the so many presentations we made. We started with live on spot, live on location, whatever we called it. So you can see me. I mean, it seems as if I'm singing, but it's just the microphone I was using in the beginning. And this is Jaffa Port with some wine, and then Jerusalem and Negev, etc. You can see Hanukkah in Jerusalem a year ago, and you can see Noam down here. If you're not familiar, this is Noam, my son, who now has short hair and a beard. And back then, he was a high school kid. So, guys, I mean, no way I can tell how much I am grateful for you to be with me for all that period of time and how much it helped me. So thank you so much.
Julia, thank you so much for this very fine audio-visual tour of very interesting places. I think everybody will agree that Julia is one of a kind and irreplaceable.
Thank you, Julia.
Yeah.
It was outstanding.
Even though it says the end, I have a feeling that it's not really the end. It will continue on. So, Julia, thank you so much again, not just for today, but countless hours and countless numbers of people measured in the thousands that have seen your presentations. And if you go onto YouTube, you'll discover that the average YouTube video of the 160 some episodes, the average one seems to have about 100 viewers, which is a lot of people. 100 times 170, big numbers. So a lot of people have enjoyed what you have and will continue to enjoy because it's going to stay out there forever on YouTube and as a reference point. So again, why don't we go through the questions that were some posted? You want to go ahead and take those?
Yeah, of course. Right. Do any original books exist from the Alexandria Library? No. The answer is no. Nothing had survived. I mean, obviously, the Library of Alexandria had copies, but we don't have a manuscript which we can tell that, you know, that was in the Library of Alexandria and then it survived. We don't have that. We don't even know for sure what happened to the library. There are different historical suggestions, and it varies all the way from Julius Caesar invading Alexandria when, you know, and burning it down by mistake, or maybe the Muslims when, you know, Muslim invaded Egypt in 7th century. So we really don't know what happened to the library, but no, we don't have any original manuscripts. What is done with the old synagogue in Alexandria, since it's not for worship? Well, nothing. I mean, they restored it, they maintain it, they lock it so it will not be, you know, it will not be damaged, and that's it. I mean, I know that there is somebody you can call and he will come and open the gate for you, but it's just an empty building, which is sad. But on the other hand, you know, there's nothing they can do about it because there's no community.
Kind of a tour, right?
hard hats helpful in case of earthquakes. Yeah.
So
Alan
what do you
said,
want to say about that tour?
What do I
Pardon?
think about it? What do I want to say?
Yeah, could you place yourself on mute, please, while Julia
I
speaks?
apologize. I apologize. I did that.
Okay.
hey, Gail, that's fine. Okay, Ellen says, we went to a restaurant that served a large fish that was back in tin, a layer of salt. Okay. Okay, then you had 3 days in Turkey and then a cruise to Israel, had 3 days in Israel. Okay, great. So the trip lasted for 2 weeks. Well, now it was 1 hour. Okay. Well, you know, Phyllis said in 2 of the 3 cities, the great majority of the people you pass in the street hate you and would kill you if they could. Why exactly would you want to go there? Well, you know, I mean, it's not that I ever made statistics. I mean, it's not that I was walking down the street asking people if, you know, do they hate me or anything? I mean, I've never asked this question. On the other hand, I did walk down the street for quite a while, you know, and I never felt any anti, you know, I never felt worried, threatened, whatever. I'm not saying that everybody loves us, but that's true in Jerusalem as well. And at the same time, I mean, I always felt great in Egypt and Turkey alike. So, and these places are beautiful and fascinating. And I mean, I feel that there is a good reason to go there, but of course it's a very much personal thing. All right, Robin, thank you so much. Thank you, Robin. Late onwards from Saloniki and moved to Israel. Okay, great. The Aladino Hanukkah song. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, guys. I don't really have questions. I see. Thank you and Happy New Year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have one, Julia.
Julia.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Barry.
Yeah, thank you. It was wonderful. I've been to all of these places that had experiences, but in particular, I went to the Turkish bath, and what an experience that was.
Exactly. I'm so sorry. I don't know what's wrong with the video. I mean, just before, you know, before I went on Zoom, I double checked it. It worked. It was very much tempting, and I don't know why it did not work this time.
Yeah.
But
It was a very male thing. When we went in, we were told that historically only men were allowed. And if you went in there and if it was a cleaning lady or something, if a male turned and looked at a female in that place, it was a capital offense and they would kill you. But anyhow, they beat me on the back and what have you. And it was an amazing experience. I came out worn out. But I had a haircut there that took an hour and a half and
Wow.
cost $2. It was a wonderful experience. Thank you. You do a fabulous job. I'm going to miss you.
You're most welcome. Thank you, Barry. And you see, now you support my opinion. There's a good reason to go to these places, right?
Yes.
At least to the Turkish bath.
Yeah,
Okay.
in Alexandria on a tour, we were on a cruise and we were on the bus. And when we got there and they said, if you're Jewish, don't get out of the bus, just stay there. So we had to spend 2 or 3 hours just parked in Alexandria before we moved on. And they said, it's not safe. But this was years ago when the Intifada was going.
Okay, well, maybe during the Intifada. I mean, yeah, during the Intifada, you don't even want to go to Jerusalem. And you
Yes, yes.
And
Yeah, I'd echo some of Barry's comments. Over the years, we've toured most of those places, and you just gotta just go with it. You know, most of the time they ignore tourists as though they're irritants, except for the people in the hotels. I did want to express a special thanks today for the internet for cooperating on our final episode of season 5. Everything was clear and no freezing. It was wonderful. And even though we might be starting season 6 in a different method, Julia remains VFI's official tour guide in Israel and does our VFI Plus programs, Archaeology and Advanced, and is looking forward to saying hello to folks who join our programs in 2023.
Yeah, definitely. So you're welcome to join the Archaeology and the Advanced, and just come over and say hi and see Israel. Yeah, we're growing, we're developing, and things are getting back to normal. You know, things are getting better, and even the weather is nice. Listen, I don't know what's wrong with the weather in the United States, but something is definitely wrong. So right here, it's pretty nice. No, there was some rainfall, which is the blessing, and otherwise, yeah, it's great. So, well, I don't know. I mean, it's a new year.
I did have a question. Recently, I think within a year, the Greek government took, was it the Blue Mosque or the other place, and took it from the status as a museum and reinstalled it as a mosque.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was talking about. Yeah, that's the Hagia Sophia.
Yeah, which previously was a church and everything else. Yeah, what a history. What a remarkable place also. I've been there.
Yeah, me too. Guys,
Alan had a question.
Yeah.
And Julie, if we come to Israel, without being in the VFI program, can we still hire you as a tour guide?
Yes, of course. Yeah, I'm self-employed. I'm an independent person. I can guide whoever I want. So you're most welcome.
Yeah, my body won't let me do the VFI anymore, but I can.
Okay, you're welcome to do just the touring. We will be very careful, gentle, and slow moving. So yes, sure.
Perfect.
Most welcome.
Julia's very good with bodies, so that's okay. Yeah,
but when we get to
I'm perfect, generally speaking. Happy New Year, and have wonderful time, and take care, and come visit. And I will be sharing my Paris experience. If you'd like to, yeah. Matthew asked, how do we reach, how can you reach me? So that's simple. Okay, I will put my email address here on the chat, and then also all the recorded programs, and the very first slide, there is my name and my email address. But anyway, I will, here it comes. And it's very simple. It's humanjulia51@gmail.com.
Or if you get stuck or forget, you can always ask Alana or Steve Plotkin. We will be glad to forward your requests.
Okay, Mark. תודה רבה לך. Thank you so much.
We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Okay.
Hi, Julia. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. We're planning on going on the VFI Advance in November.
Great. November. Okay.
Great.
We have one in May and second one in November. Okay.
Yeah, we can't do the May, but the one in November looks more likely that we could do it. Are you going to be the tour guide on that?
Yeah. Yeah. God willing.
Terrific.
Yes, I will be the tour guide. I made a program. I actually reviewed it recently, and I decided that I'm happy with it. So, hopefully I will have it, tourists.
All right.
Looking forward.
And the details on that on the advanced tours can be seen on the internet at the following address. If you want to note, it's called tinyurl.com/VFI 2023 And that'll put you on a web
That's
page.
recent?
That's
that
very
recent?
recent. Yeah. And what you see there is even though it says working draft, it is the syllabus. What we don't have is pricing yet.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for your question.
Yeah. The pricing is coming soon. We are waiting for our Steve, what shall we call Shachar? He works for the archaeology department. We work with, but so we wait for him to provide some costs, but he is currently sitting as Shiva, so he is, he's not working for the week or so, but the pricing is coming soon.
Okay.
Hey, Steve, thank you so much for all you've done. I'm so grateful.
You're welcome.
Can we still send you a donation?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, Steve deserves a donation for sure. I mean, if it wouldn't be for him, it would never happen. And, I mean, during COVID, it really, I don't know, maintain my mental health, these presentations. It gave me something to do. It made me travel and have quality time with my son. And it was just, I never realized how important it is to work. Prior to COVID, I would think that people work because they need an income. But during COVID, I realized that it's not just the income. I mean, the income was provided by the government, not such a great one, but I mean, I wouldn't starve. But it's just not enough to have an income. You have to have an occupation, and you provided that occupation for me. So thank you, Steve, and again, thank you all.
It is a gift that keeps on giving, we understand your mental health played a role in this, but you know what? The mental health of thousands of people who have watched this were seriously affected in a positive way over the course of 170 episodes. And that's really something. I can't imagine too many people who could make that kind of claim as a life experience, as a positive contribution. So thank you again. And thank you was too small a gesture, actually. I wish I had bigger words.
Well, toda rabba again. And Happy New Year. May that coming year be the best, the healthiest, the happiest, the fulfilling, the best. And, this virtual background behind me, I see it upside down, but I mean, it's just like a mirror image, and I have no idea how to fix it. But you know what I mean. Okay.
We see it the right way. We see it the right way.
Oh, you do see it the right way?
Yeah.
Yes.
Great. That's why, because I see it upside down and you see it the right way, which is more important. Okay,
well, we're not going backwards or upside down, so.
I don't know, but it's not the right way for me, but it is the right way. The magic of Zoom, exactly, Mark, just as you said. Yeah.
It's because you're seeing it. It's because you're seeing it in the Hebrew.
So I will be celebrating New Year in Jerusalem. Where will you celebrate it?
Didn't you already have one New Year? No. We got to have two, don't we?
Oh, yeah, the Jewish.
Come on, there are 4 Jewish New Years, and they like to keep busy.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, this particular New Year, the International Christian, I don't know. I will be in Jerusalem celebrating, and then I'm currently guiding a family of tourists who are Christians. So they're going to Bethlehem for January 1st. So, it's all all together. And then from Bethlehem, they're going to visit the city of David. So, you know, January 1st is like the most Israeli Jewish Christian. Looking forward to it.
I don't know if you saw the message. I think I may have sent it just to you, but I took a class at Brandeis with Arabic music. And the professor, he teaches at Berkeley. He got his education in Israel and all sorts of degrees in music. And it was, he's fascinated himself. He's Arab, Israeli, Christian. So I told him he needed to give a class just on himself because that would have been interesting, the history of his family. But the music was great. And the first woman you had, Uma? Yeah, he played some videos of her, and he played all of the different like Arabic music, and it was really interesting. The sound is great, and seeing all the old instruments was good. So.
Julia, thank you for the Jewish-Greek connection. We have a thriving Jewish community here, and we have a thriving Greek Orthodox community in our area, and we have been getting together, and thanks to you, you've given me so much of an insight into the Greek Orthodox Jewish connection in our history. And we're now having a lot of joint events between the Greek Orthodox community and the Jewish community, the food, the what have you. And thank you for taking us on these tours to Greece. I never realized how close we are. Even today, the Greek government and the Israeli government are working together militarily, and we have a wonderful relationship. Thank you for affirming that.
You're most welcome. That's beautiful. I never heard of this cooperation between the Greek Orthodox and the Jews. Where do you live? Where is your area?
Santa Barbara.
Okay.
Yeah,
well, that's wonderful.
In fact, I will be going out with a very devout Greek Orthodox girl that I met, lady, and we have been sharing so much. We met at a yoga class, and we found out the connections we have. So we're going to be getting together and sharing our heritage.
Okay. Well, I wish people could get along better, you know, Greek Orthodox and Muslims and Jews and everybody. Yeah. For me, you know, my origins are Russian. So even though like communist Russia, no religion involved at all, but I did see churches. So Greek Orthodox is like part of my background, and the other part is Jewish, of course, the major part. So for me, it is connected, but it's very interesting that it is connected for you as well, just because you met these people.
Julia.
Yeah.
When we were there, you saw I was back in '88. We bought some Turkish rugs that they shipped home. And it was the first time I spent $1 billion anything to get
on anything, yeah.
Well, in those days, Howard Stern was on the air. I know he still is, but he used to run a contest. Who wants to be a Turkish millionaire? And he would send them $2 because actually at that time we were there, it was 500,000 Turkish lira to $1 US.
Oh, wow. Well,
I mean, it was unreal. It was, you know, and they were telling us how people, when they would buy the house, they'd get usually 2 families, and they put their money in, and they maybe get the concrete floor put down. Then another couple of years later, they get the walls up. A couple of years later, they get the roof up. Slowly, because in those days, there was no loans for houses. So it was an interesting way to buy a house. It would never fly, I know, here in the States, but it's a hell of a way to live, though.
Wow. Yeah. Well, we used to have a similar inflation back in the 80s. I mean, we never made it to the billions, but it was like 10,000 shekels per or lira. I don't remember what it was, but it was, you would like, there were way too many zeros, so the counter machines could not have it. So
yeah, it was shekels then. because right after that, when they dropped it off, it became the new Israeli shekels.
Exactly.
And I used to have a watch that I could have a calculator on it, which is what I wore when I went to Israel and Mexico, because they had the same problem then. And I was always converting all the prices back to US dollars, so I knew what I was spending.
Yeah. So that's funny.
Yeah,
And
when I first went,
it happened in Italy. Remember, there were the liras, and then they were like 10,000 lira, and you would pay for chewing gum, and then they used to euros, and then they became more pricey.
The first time I was in Israel was pounds back in '59.
Oh wow, that's the lira. Yeah, we called it lira. The
Well,
British.
on the notes it said £5 that I found.
Well, in 50 something.
59.
Well, that's weird because I have a note from 48, which is already lira. So maybe they would use both. Maybe for a while they would use both. Maybe, I don't know, because we did use the liras, like same name as the Egyptian money.
I was a little younger then too.
Well, whoa, what a surprise. What do you have behind you? It's an aircraft? Is it an F-16?
F-16.
F-16, that's what I thought.
Can you see
I see it. Very handsome.
That's one of my desktop images that I rotate through. I got several from Israel. I got some from other places. I have a different one for my amateur radio. And I made a friend from Eilat through amateur radio who visited us when he was here a couple of years ago, and hopefully we're going to see him also down in Eilat.
Oh, where are you coming to Eilat? When, sir?
Well, it depends on my wife's health before we can travel.
Okay.
Right now, the doctors told us we can maybe make a trip a couple 100 miles by car, but no flying, no cruising. So we got to get her health first back into decent condition.
Okay. Well, good luck with this. May next year will be healthier.
Yeah. My first time in Israel as a volunteer was back in '92, and I was up at Shimshon at the Golani Junction.
I know exactly where it is. Today, there is a junction which is called Shimshon Junction, which is, where you take a ride towards the base. And then a few years ago, there was a guy who placed a little truck, and started making omelet. And it was such a great, successful omelet. So nobody calls this junction the Shimshon. Now it's known as the Omelet Junction. And people drive to this little truck to have omelets.
But what was interesting, they told us if we call home, do not tell anybody where you are because, the secrecy. And right across the street from the entrance to the base was an Arab little village.
Of course.
And we all said, everybody knows in that village there's an army base right there.
Of course.
Yeah, but Shimshon was, they were a maintenance base, so we took care of, and because of my background, I was cleaning the air filters for the tanks.
Oh, okay. Well, that's important. That's very important. Okay.
It sure be painting and doing a lot of painting.
All right, we're going to enter into schmoo session.
Steve, recording.
Thank you. You have done your job.
Thank you, Julia.
Well, let's let Julia go to sleep. It's what time now? Around midnight in Israel?
Well, no, it's 10:30, but tomorrow I have a real on location touring. We are going to a Fauda base. Did you know that there is this thing called Fauda base in Israel, Steve?
Well, I think that's where the filming is done, isn't it? I didn't realize it was real base. I thought it was just a movie set.
No. It's not a real base. It's actually a tourist attraction, which is called Fauda base. It's right across the road from Latrun Armored Memorial.
A museum, yeah.
So yeah, so right across the road there used to be an institution called Mini Israel, and it was not doing very well for quite a few years, and then they took the location and they built a fake military base and a fake Arab village.
Right.
They do, yeah, and they do like sort of experience workshop, I'm not sure what to call it, for tourists who would come over there and pretend they're Fauda fighters for like 2 hours. That's actually something we might try to incorporate in the yeah, okay. So I'm gonna be there tomorrow. I'll tell you how it is.
Take notes, it sounds interesting. Fauda, the TV show, will start around the 20th of January, the latest season, a new season in the US. And if you folks hadn't encountered Fauda before, I think it's on Netflix. The first 1 or 2 seasons are long out there, but this will be the new season. Very successful.
Yeah, they're both on Netflix. And the third one is on Netflix too.
Right.